This is the LGS podcast, chatting all things skateboarding with Jason Emery from Let's Go Skate. All right, everyone, we're back. This is the LGS podcast. We've got episode 4 on here, and I've got Dave, isn't it? Do you like Dave? Was it David? It says David's iPhone, but both. I call you Dave. I'm going to mention you as Dave. And we've got Dave here from Rollins. So Rollins create ramps for people. You may have seen them in some of my video and social media because we have one of the quarter pipes, which has been amazing at teaching my students how to drop in. But Dave's been doing tons of mini ramps. He's got some other stuff, which we'll get all into. So today for this episode, I'm just really hoping to delve into what it's like for Dave running Rollins and just what it's like, you know, being in the industry and developing ramps for people. So hello, Dave. You okay?
Yeah, I'm really good. Yeah,
all good?
I guess to answer your question, it's amazing doing something you love.
Yes, and, I can relate.
I don't know how old you were when you started, but I was 9 when I got my first skateboard over in Essex and a place called Braintree. And there was a group of guys older than me, 3, 4, 5 years older than me, that were all skating. Mm-hmm. I was desperate to learn how to ollie. And
ollie at 9. You wanted to be ollieing at 9, yeah?
I was, yeah. And I followed them around the estate, like trying to show off that I could be part of their gang. And they kind of adopted me. And I learned to skate with them. And I remember my first day at secondary school, the sixth form was coming up to me and saying, "I'll do a kickflip." And I did a kickflip. And that was
okay. Yeah. So so you grew up. Have you always been in Aylesbury, or did you leave to live somewhere else, or
Essex?
Oh, sorry, you did say that Essex. Yeah.
Yeah, near Chelmsford, where there's some ramps and stuff like that.
Yeah. Right. So you got a skateboard at 9, and you were doing it a little bit, and then when you get to secondary school, you're doing kickflips. Then, so like that's you know, kickflips always good to show off. But like. Yeah, I guess you've answered the question, like what made you want to start? It was just being able to show off, well, join the crew, I guess, wasn't it? Which similar to me, actually, my story is kind of like that. I just wanted to show off with the people in my form. But any more on that? Like any more elaborations? Like you as a teenager or whatever then in secondary school, you've always like stuck with skateboarding?
I loved it. And I used to do a lot of roller skating as well. Back in the quads, we had like at our school in the sports hall every week we had a roller skating thing going on. But I loved skateboarding, and I remember being in year 7 and we had to do like a bring and share what our hobby was, and I brought my skateboard in, which was the only excuse I had to bring my skateboard to school.
Wow.
Yeah. Do it. And I got to do like ollies and skate in my class. And it was amazing. I just loved it. And I didn't really care maybe what people thought. I just loved the feeling of skateboarding and doing tricks. And I remember when I first got my first set of decent skateboard wheels, brought them off this guy and put them on my rubbish deck that I got from a garage around the corner. It was awful. Made by True Toys. You never in your life. It was awful, but I got these rubber wheels and it was so much better when I got them. And then my next deck was an Alva. Do you remember Alva?
Tony Alva, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Like from okay, yeah.
And then I just upgraded and got a better deck, and I literally lived for skateboarding. I loved it. As soon as I got home from school, wanted to skate. And then I started to build stuff when I was about 13.
Yeah, and we'll get into all of that. The other thing I just want to say is I always mention when we're recording, which is Monday, 14th of March, and it's an evening. So like I just like to put that in there just for reference. You got straight into it. I'm not complaining. He went right into his story, like, which is good. It's cool. And then I'm kind of going off on tandem a little bit. That's just for a bit more backstory about you, because I'm going to get into how Rollins started, but just so you've always kind of been skateboarding, and I guess I'm just kind of wondering, like, it's taken you a while to get to the point where you're making Rollins, because I guess you've done like other jobs and stuff. So just like any other jobs that you think are worth mentioning before you got to, what you're doing now.
Definitely. Like after uni, got a job in London, working for this internet company in Liverpool Street, and I used to skate from Bethnal Green in my suit to this company.
You skated in a suit.
Yeah.
For transport, yeah. Cool.
You never, you always have.
What
your
did you
board
do
with
for uni? What did you get in uni? What did you do?
I did computers and I did like development studies,
Okay.
which was all to do with like developing countries and stuff to do with youth work and young people getting involved in community. And
Yeah.
soon after that, I got a job doing youth work, and I was straight away building skateboard stuff for the kids in my local village,
Yeah.
like ramp stickers and grind bars and stuff like that. And so I got into youth work, and all the youth clubs that I set up over here in Aylesbury and Bucks, about 23 of them, they all had a link to skateboarding somehow. So we'd have
Say
like
that again. 23 youth groups, did you just say?
Yeah. So
But you helped set up 23 of them.
Locally, yeah.
Wow. Explain what you no, because that sounds incredible, but like maybe I'm overthinking it. Like what when you say youth group, like like one evening or whatever, like 23 times for people all over where you are.
Yeah, so in 23 locations around Bucks, we set up youth clubs. So yeah, all over. And we'd work with charities and councils, and the main councils. Actually, Aylesbury Council, it's not called that anymore. They're now Buckinghamshire, but they had a mobile skate park.
Yeah.
And they brought these ramps from a company, like a lot of really decent ramps that could fit in a van, and they'd take it around the whole county. And the council really struggled to get people to a team to do it regularly. So they'd phone my charity, and then I'd send out my team to do it last minute. And in the end, they sold me the van and all the ramps, and then said, you manage the project, and they funded us to do it. So as well as the 23 youth clubs, we used to go around and pop up this mobile skate park in all the villages that didn't have a youth club. And
that's amazing, dude.
It was really good.
This is all before rolling, because I want to I go down like a timeline a little bit here. I'm hoping you're still there. It says David's iPhone. We're good. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So I just want a little bit of a timeline. So this is before you created Rollin. Is that correct?
Yeah. From 2005 to 2016, ran this charity. Then last 5-6 years working self-employed and still doing the skateboard stuff for the council. Then last year in February, Rollin became its own company. So not just a separate sideline sole trader project, so self-employed, its own registered company.
Okay, so for a long time you've been doing youth work, helping like skateboard stuff, but you just wasn't properly creating the ramps and like doing it as a business kind of thing. But like you got to that point, I guess, last year, yeah?
So the council would pay us to build ramps for youth clubs, me and the team.
Right.
We built a half pipe just around the corner from where I live now, big 12-foot wide half pipe, 3.5 foot tall, in the middle of this roundabout in this community centre. Yeah.
Wow, in the middle of a roundabout, like a real road as well, like the cars use.
It's a big old roundabout. It's like people would know it, but we built a half pipe there. Actually, the community centre was linked to a church, and so it was like this ramp in a church garden. It looked like amazing.
That's cool, dude. Because I'm hoping you'll have a picture, because when I edit this, I'm going to be putting pictures in. So I'm hoping we can see that. Have you got a picture of it?
Oh yeah, I've got videos of it.
Yeah, good. We'll send it all to me later, and then when I edit it, people watching on YouTube are about to see, which is cool. So yeah, so I've got my little notes here for people that don't know. We're getting into the Rollin start bit now. So I've asked you about other jobs that you've had. So I guess interesting backstory, because I didn't even know all that. So why did you decide to create Rollin specifically? Because you were doing what you've just been doing for quite a long time. And then I guess last year you went, you created Rollin properly. So tell me a little bit about that decision and why you decided to do that.
Well, a couple of years ago when we had the pandemic and youth clubs had to stop, people weren't able to go to the skate parks. Kids that knew me asked me to build them a ramp for their garden or for.
Yeah.
And also I run a skate park near Bicester, a place called Marsh Gibbon, with the council again. And we've got kids that come along and skate there. And people asked me if I could build a ramp for them. And then I thought maybe I could put these on eBay. So I put them on eBay and they were selling on eBay. And then I thought, you know what, this needs to become a company.
Yeah. I mean, that is a really cool, you basically, people were asking you and there was a need for it and you just like went with it kind of thing, didn't you? Which is
absolutely
cool.
Son designed this logo. He's 17 now, he's going to be 18 in July, he's going to uni. And he's doing graphic design. And so I said, well, let's get a logo. And he put this logo together. So you're repping the merch as well, I can see on you.
Yeah, I'm going to put that there. Like you gave me that hoodie when I got the quarter pipe. Did you just, because you cut out a little bit, did you say it was your son that designed it?
Yeah, he did the design for that.
And yeah, I was going to ask briefly on have you got two sons?
Yeah, Jack and Luke, 15 Jack and 17.
Luke. Have they ever done much skateboarding? They ever shown any interest in it?
They've got half pipe in their garden and they're learning now.
They're learning now. Good. That's cool. Yeah, cool. And then obviously going back to this logo, which I like the logo, and I love the grey. And I've told you this before. I love the grey scheme that you have when when you see people's backyard ramps. If it's a grey one, I know it's a rolling one, so I like that. Anyway, the question I was just going to ask was, what made you decide to call it Rolling?
Well, my surname's Rollins, Rollins.
I feel like I knew that, but then I've forgotten. I don't know. You might have told me before, but I couldn't remember. But there you go. Like, yeah, I mean, it works, don't it? The only thing I sometimes think is I sometimes want to call you Rolling Co. And I think it's just because you've got the hyphen there. It is a hyphen, isn't it? The little like line thing. And then .co, and it all comes together. And I think it's like rolling.co, but I still think that sounds cool. But it is Rolling. But yeah, when you did the website, why not .co.uk? Why .co? I'm just curious on that.
Well, when you set up a website, you get a choice whether to use .com, .co, whatever. And I just thought, shorter the better.
Shorter the better. That's what you went for,
mean, shorter than .com, isn't it?
Yeah.
And these days, people don't always remember a website, but they'll click on a link anyway or follow a link. And it doesn't really what your website is. But if people are writing it down or typing it in, I always think the shorter the better. And I guess from when I did the internet stuff years ago and people buying domain names back then, you could get really cool domain names back then.
I won't go too into it because it's a different debate, but I don't know if you know much about the blockchain and then like .eth and all that kind of stuff. Have you seen all that?
No.
Yeah, so like .eth is going to be a big one, and like I think Budweiser have beer.eth, and you got to spend a lot of money to get it. So that .eth is going to be a big one. Anyway, but that's a topic for another day. So going through my list here, so I'm going to start getting into the products because we've learned, you started it because of the pandemic. People were asking. So the first things you started creating, I guess, were mini ramps then for people's backyards. Is that?
The quarter pipes were selling first.
Quarter pipes.
40 centimeters tall, just slightly shorter than your ramp. They weren't painted. They used slightly different plywood, but it was pretty much all the materials that you could buy from a Wix or a B&Q. And, pretty decent once painted, a good solid ramp. And then when I got more into it, I think I started building bigger quarter pipes, 2 foot tall ones, and half pipes that, you could join together. So I would go out and deliver a half pipe in sections and put it together up to 3 foot tall and then link it all together on site. So the install time would be really short.
Yeah.
But I do now is I use much longer timber and much stronger wood, and it's just too heavy to lug around. So you've got to build it on site. To build it on site is so much better. And I've got it down to I can do it in 3 hours, but when you're leveling when it takes an extra couple of hours, so it's about 4 to 5 hours to install.
Yeah, let's go into that. And then remind me, I've got other thing to ask, but we'll go with that. So you said leveling, okay? So that's what so I'll talk for a minute here. So I got my own mini ramp back in 2016. And I've been looking for years. I bought my house in 2014. I literally bought this house knowing that the garden was big enough for a mini ramp. Like, it was always my dream to get one. But back then, there really wasn't many places to be able to get a mini ramp. And I think it was it 414 were the only ones that entertained the idea of it. But they told me that I had to have a flat garden and I had to have the slabs already all in place. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have that. So I basically didn't get anything until eventually Raddy Ramp Repairs, he did one for me. But yeah, where I'm going with this is the whole how frustrating it was for me that my garden's on a slope and there was no one willing to do it. So my question to you is like, yeah, is that something you have to contend with quite a bit, making, because you've got to make sure that's really flat and level, I guess, with spirit meter readings and all that kind of stuff. I'm guessing most gardens aren't perfectly flat.
There is never a perfect surface. You can get someone to come in and put a flat tarmac ground down. It won't be completely flat. It never is. And so I find customer service really important. You know, if it was me and I was buying a ramp for myself or my kids or whatever, you're not going to be an expert in that stuff. And to go into all those details is just hassle. So I try and provide a completely non-hassle service. And I say to them, send me a picture of your ramp, of where it's going to go. Let me know how level it is, and is it going on grass? What's the access like? You know, how I can get there. And then when I get there, I decide whether I can just chalk it up on blocks and make it flat, or whether I need to build up levels and stilts to make it completely flat. So guy who brought a ramp, he actually ordered it on Wednesday. It was built on Saturday. That's a quick turnaround.
That is a really quick turnaround. I had to wait quite a bit longer.
And he got through at the right time. We just happened to have the time to do it this week. Or it was on Saturday. And it was on a concrete in the middle of London, central London, but he had this area where it was on a slope, a steep slope. So it's about a foot and a bit deeper one side than the other. And so
that's about the same as my garden was when I had my ramp. Yeah.
And I just made it flat for him. That was it. It takes an extra hour. But are you aware of that going into the job? But going back a little bit, you just said you kind of figure it out on the day a little bit, like how you're going to do it though. It doesn't. And sure whether it's out by a foot. I just have the stuff in the van ready to do it.
You've got the stuff in the van. Okay, that's what I want to know, because obviously with this podcast, I'm really trying to give these are the types of questions that maybe someone listening, they want a mini ramp and they just wonder like, oh, my garden's on a slope, can you do it for me? Like, so they're going to find out now like how you go about doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I guess you will make it pretty dope. You will make it flat though, won't you? Like it will, because like, yeah, with my mini ramp, it would rain and the puddle would stay central. So like you guys do a good job with making everything central, because like it's important, isn't it, for skateboarding, like to be able to make sure both sides, because I'm blabbing again, but you know, literally some of these real outdoor skate parks are on slopes, and I'll mention one now. St. Ives near me, I'm going up and down the skate park and I'm accelerating going one way and I'm losing speed going the other way. Like I'm probably a whole different ball game trying to do a big outdoor concrete park, but it really affects my skateboarding at that park because my speed's not the same. So when you've got your nice mini ramp in your garden, you really want to make sure it's good and level, don't you?
If I can do anything when I'm leveling it, I try and make one side just slightly lower than the other, just very slightly, so water can, if it gets wet, can run off. But
yeah, okay.
Not like that way, but you know, on the flat bit so it can roll off. So I don't think there's a problem with that because it's perfectly skatable.
Yeah, if it's very minor. Let's talk more on mini ramps while we're on mini ramps. Flat bottom. Do you change the length of the flat bottom, or do you stick to the same, or like is that on a per case basis? How do you work that out?
So I have standard middle section length for my ramps, and so a 3 foot tall ramp is 22.7 feet long, just under 23 feet, and a 2 foot tall ramp, 19 feet long. So I have a standard template for those, which I think optimizes the speed for skating those ramps. Now, if someone has less space, then I will make a recommendation to either have the platforms very slightly smaller or to lose a bit of flat in the middle. Now, if you lose a bit of flat in the middle, it makes the ramp faster.
Yep.
And you've got less time in between tricks, but some people really want that. And actually people to have less flat space, so it's quicker. It's fine. So I can actually references. It's fine.
It's cool. I mean, so I grew up in St. Neots, and their mini ramp there has the longest flat bottom ever, but that's what I was used to. And then when I got my mini ramp, I'm just sharing my story because, you know, I guess it's interesting for people. I was limited on width, no, on the length. So I had a 6 foot flat bottom, which was a little bit short, but I adapted and got used to it, and I love my mini ramp. You know, like, so as long as it's not like 2 foot, I guess, and you know, so it's a complete U, it's all fine. So yeah, I guess it's on a, you know, it's interesting if people want it to go faster and accelerate on, like, yeah, you will want it to have less flat bottom. And then deck. What's the normal size deck would you do for a mini ramp? So deck, for people wondering, obviously the bit we stand on at the top. Like, how wide are they normally on yours?
I normally have them 2 foot deep, which is 60 centimeters, which is plenty of space for more than one person to, you know, to stand up there. People may not know how big that is, but a quarter pipe, if you skate a quarter pipe, would normally have 1.5 foot platform or a foot. So 2 foot is quite deep in comparison. Right?
Yeah,
you could have a whole skateboard wheel to wheel standing on that pretty much.
2 foot's probably good. I had to have 1 foot. And then when I would do blunts on my mini ramp, the nose of my board would be touching the 2x4s or whatever that were there to support it. So I was literally getting into a blunt, and it was like supporting me and helping me out. But like, yeah, I just had to make do with it. But yeah, I really did love my mini ramp, and I'll get into why I've had to get rid of it maybe later when we talk about some other bits. But I learned so much having my mini ramp. You know, like, I could really hone in on some technical tricks and stuff for having it. Any more bits on mini ramps and stuff? Do you think anything you think that might be interesting for somebody to know about?
I don't use standard radiuses.
Okay, yeah, talk about radius. Yeah, go on. What do you mean?
So what is people say, is a ramp mellow or is it whippy? Is it steep? And what they're talking about is how from the coping down, how steep is it and what's the flow like? And I've just made my own that I love to skate. You know, I know they're close to, I could compare them to other radiuses, but there aren't any ramps exactly the same as mine.
So if you're doing a 2 foot ramp, you know the radius. If you're doing a 3 foot ramp, you know the radius, and you'll stick to that same radius. Yeah, which I'm assuming is a normal practice. But so you have your own one that you've made. You've not got seen any template online or anything like that.
Nah.
That's
so
cool.
So if you skate one of my ramps, it will feel different, and I hope better. If you watch people skate them, I think the flow is really good. It doesn't. You sometimes see people drop in on a 2 foot ramp, and they drop in it so quick, and then kind of going on, and then they're doing a trick, and then they're doing nothing. But on mine, I think it's a really nice flow. I'm not really just trying to big my ramps up, but if you watch people skate, fine.
You did give me an opportunity to come skate one once, and I didn't, so I'm a bit gutted. Like, I really do. I do need to come check one out sometime because I love skating a mini ramp. I just had a look. Oh, let's talk about that. Maintenance on a mini ramp. So let's say someone's bought a mini ramp with you, they love it, and they've installed it. Like, what tips would you give to someone to look after their mini ramp?
2 things. I mean, all mine are weatherproofed, and you can just leave them, but you won't get as much life if you don't put a cover on it. But a lot of people just put a tarpaulin straight on the ramp, and then what that does is it traps moisture between the cover and the wood, which just is awful. It's the worst. It's better off having no cover than doing that. So I put a wire through the middle of the ramp that you can detach or attach, and then the tarpaulin sits on the top like a tent. I don't know. There's video on this podcast as well, isn't there? So you can
Yep.
see
So
my
you're
hand.
going to send me the video. I'm going to play it right now while we're talking, so people will be watching it. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, and that it means the ramp can dry off and the dew can just dry off the ramp well. So when you take the cover off, it will be dry underneath. And that is the best way of doing it. And I haven't patented it or anything like that. But I guess anyone that's got a ramp, I recommend doing it because it's wood. And in the end, the weather will win. Whether it's 5 years or 10, the weather's going to get to it. But a good cover, and you know, if you put it on and clip it down, it's the way forward.
So you're saying tarpaulin, and when you install a mini ramp, you actually put things in place to make it easy for them to then get the tarpaulin and do it if they choose to.
Yeah. So they can buy a tarpaulin from me. I don't charge them anything more that I buy the tarpaulin for, but all the clips and the metal through the middle, I buy all those and then I charge people for those bits and pieces. But then I know their ramp is going to last longer.
Oh, for sure. So you're really giving the aftercare as well. Because when I got my mini ramp, that wasn't even really a thought. And I will share my experience with my mini ramp. So I think mine was made of birch. Is yours made of birch? Is that normal? Birch? Yeah. So I mean, 2016, I think within a year, it was, it lost its color. I didn't look after it or anything. I was terrible. And it started to ride much slower. And eventually, and maybe I can find a picture to put in here, I did start to get the riding surface was tearing up a bit, especially on one side. So, but I wasn't given any tools, or I didn't know really how to look after it. And, you know, like you say, if you've made it nice and simple and you've got the holes in place and it's quite easy for someone to do, you're going to do it. But people get lazy. So you've got to make sure that you're looking after people and giving them that option to do that, which I think is recommended, because otherwise, what will happen is just the riding surface that will get bad. Is that correct? Like the rest of it should still be solid. It's just that bit that you're actually skating on that you would need to replace if you don't look after it, right?
Yeah, and I can replace the tops if someone just never wants to cover their ramp and then just let the weather get to it over time, and they don't paint it every year because you can top it up with paint, and I give them the paint that they need. If they don't look after it in that sense and they just want to have new tops in 3 or 4 years, I'll give them new tops.
There you go. Yeah, so that's what I would have done, but I didn't get to that point. I think we've covered quite a bit on mini ramps. So I'm just trying to think anything else I want to say on mini ramps. Like
the one thing
I'll leave it for. Go on.
Is for the radius I use, I try and make my mini ramps quite nice and mellow, so not too steep. Just because nearly every park you go to, they really make the ramps quite steep and whippy. Even 3 foot tall ramps can have a very steep as you drop in. Whereas I think for garden ramps, it's really nice to have something that's a little bit more mellow so you can learn tricks on it. You know, that's home.
Yeah.
And then perfected the trick, you can then take that and go to a bigger ramp or a steeper ramp or whatever and learn it there. But for me, I just like learning and skating a nice mellow ramp. So really, I've built these ramps just how I like skating.
Yeah, that's good. I'll get into this like little topic while we tandem and off mini ramps. So I lost my mini ramp due to the council giving me an enforcement notice. Now, this was back in 2016. I do think times are changing a little bit, and we are seeing people with mini ramps all over the country. It's not just Rollins, lots of companies are doing it. So it's amazing. I might have been a little bit ahead of the time. But yeah, I did have an enforcement notice. I guess my question to you would be like, have you actually had any issues yet with any of your customers not being able to keep their mini ramp up?
No.
That's crazy. I will share my story now, because I think I have to talk about this a lot, and this is probably the best podcast to put it on, so I'm going to share it. So I won't go into the full details, but my neighbors didn't like the noise, which in a minute I'll ask you if there's any way we can do to reduce the noise. You might know. And because of that, they complained to the council. But my mini ramp, I even got a decibel reader, and my mini ramp, I was below the threshold. I can't remember what the number is, but even when I went, to other people's houses and my mate was skating my mini ramp, it wasn't loud enough to be noise pollution. So they couldn't get me for that. So I wasn't breaking any laws or rules. So they were trying to claim that my decking that we stand on is above 1 foot and you need planning permission for decking, even though it's not decking. So my council got me on a grey area and I fought them on it for 3 years. And then eventually I backed down because I didn't look after my mini ramp. I want to get an indoor skate park now. So I had my mini ramp for 3 years. I'm on to bigger, hopefully other things. But yeah, anyone thinking about it because I went through hell, my gut is just to at least have a chat with your neighbours maybe, because hopefully it's not happening much, and maybe councils are more aware now that kids want ramps in their gardens. It was a bit unheard of 6 years ago, but
it's really unlucky that happened to you, because I know most gardens have a trampoline, and if you didn't have one before the bad weather and the hurricane, you might have inherited one that blew into your garden. But when they make a lot of noise, jumping up and down on them, it's not just the springs that make a noise and the bouncing, but people make noise jumping on them. But it's not unpleasant. Do you know what I mean? It's kids playing, it's kids having fun. And I really think that, I played a lot of basketball as a kid as well and skateboarded, and my neighbours were so good, and I would chat to my neighbours, I was kind to them, didn't give them abuse. And I think if you talk to your neighbours and you chat to them and you agree a time to skate, and 11 o'clock at night, on a work day or whatever, is probably not the best be out there. But if you come to some kind of agreement, and then everyone can get on all right, can't they?
Definitely. Sorry, and you're fine. You're back. Yeah. And I did, I used to have a trampoline before the ramp, and that was still problematic. I'll give you a sec if you need it. Are you okay?
I'll charge my, because if it goes, I'm really sorry. You just have to carry on.
Do you need to charge your phone? Do you need to plug it in?
Let me plug it in. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, that's cool. We'll give you a sec. All right, we're back. That was the first cut I've had to do. Dave just needed to charge his phone, so we're good. Where were we? I was just saying, like, I had a trampoline beforehand, and neighbours never moaned. But my neighbours are elderly, and I did try to come to a schedule, and I didn't go on it after a certain time. But unfortunately, it wasn't for me. But you did say the right things, like just chat with your neighbours, and yeah, it should be okay. And I do think that more
my customers do as well. They have a chat with their neighbours and get an idea. And do you know what? We've been in lockdown. People have had to be at home. They weren't able to go out. And kids need to do exercise. Adults need to do exercise. And it's just another thing that we can do. So hopefully, and especially with the Olympics and Sky Brown and all these ambassadors, I think people are starting to realise that skateboarding is not an unsociable thing. It's a creative thing. It's a fun thing. And really, come on, like, kids could be doing a lot worse than, skating in their garden.
For sure. Yeah. So, yeah. And lots of mini ramps now. You seem to be doing quite a lot of them for people. Yeah. Is that probably your most popular product?
Yeah, I think so. At Christmas, we see more of the quarter pipes going out. I think they're a really nice gift. Yeah, they're a really nice gift, for people that are really into their skateboarding and for learning on. And not everyone has space for a half pipe. So it's lovely. It's lovely seeing those go out.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the quarter pipes. So I have seen quarter pipes, quite a few portable quarter pipes from different companies and stuff. But you were the first time where I saw one that could be taken apart a little bit. So I'll get you to explain it. So, because the one that I've got is split up into 3 parts. Just tell everybody how that all comes together, like how convenient it is.
Well, hopefully it's convenient for you, because when we talked about it, you said that you wanted to be able to take it around with other stuff in your vehicle as well. And with having other stuff in there too, it's not a van that you drive, it's a car. And
for reference, I have a Ford Focus. It's a small little car, but Dave did manage to custom build one that fits for me. Yeah.
But you wanted it to, we built it so you had the platform and the main section, and you could just clip it together. And it's, I tried to build it as solid as I build all of my ramps, so it's still got that kind of heavy wood. It's not a light thing, is it? It's
no. Was mine the first one you did like that?
Yes, it is. And I think there's another 3 or 4 out there like that now. And I think
Yeah.
another academy has one that's in one piece, but same sort of width dimension, so about 2.5 foot wide. And then the ones that people tend to buy at Christmas are 4 foot wide, so that much wider and just a very, very little bit taller.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, and I for example, I was in Coventry once, street skating on like a popular area, and locals brought out loads of ramps and stuff, and for everyone to skate. So like for someone that wants to do something like that, like it makes way more sense and ease to get it into a vehicle if you take the deck away from the quarter pipe bit, which I never thought of before. And I can't really complain. I mean, sometimes if the path, if it's a little bit bumpy, it's a little bit hard for me to wedge the connector in, but like I always manage it, and I've never had it come off or anything like that. So it is sturdy enough to do the job. No one ever moans about that. So like I think that was a really ingenious way of you to come up with, because how can I get that in my car otherwise, which is really good. And
you know what, your ramp has seen some use as well. If you're questioning, do these things, are they durable? Like, I think you can answer that.
I will answer that for you. Like, there is no defects. It still works just as good as when you gave it to me. So you gave it to me last summer. So we're going back about probably 9 months. And I use it quite a lot. I mean, it's such an amazing tool. So I might as well touch on this right now. So most of my skate parks around me, the smallest ramps we have are 3 foot. And how big's my one? Did you say 40 centimeters?
50. Yours is 50.
50. So it's below 2 feet. So it's just under 2 feet, my ramp. Yeah. And I mean, 3 foot to 2 foot is a big difference for a kid when they're wanting to learn. And I mean, some of my parks are like 4 foot. So like for me to be able to bring that out, like I have taught so many people how to drop in, and I have wanted this opportunity for a long time. Like I've had kickers that I could bring out, but I always knew like teaching kids to drop in is such a massive thing to learn. And I remember a few summers ago, I started pushing myself to like, okay, can I let kids drop in sooner? Because I mean, dropping in can be dangerous, right? Like you see the horror stories. I'm sure we've all seen videos online when things go wrong. But I've developed my technique now. I don't want to blab too much about me, but I've developed my technique now where I can get a kid to a stage where they can drop in a ramp pretty quick. I did it with a girl called Jamie the other day. Like, I'll mention this now quick. Her first lesson, she was literally, her board was so bad, she pushed and ride along and she'd fall off because the trucks are bad. So she could barely ride along. And within 1 hour of me, I had her dropping in your rolling ramp. And she does gymnastics, so she had some potential there. But like, if I didn't have that ramp, she probably wouldn't have had that experience. So
I'm really glad.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. Like, I'm so grateful. And, and that's why I try to do my best to support you, because you were kind and you gave me one of them. And, and it's helped so many kids. It's amazing. And yeah, if someone can't get a mini ramp, like, because I think a mini ramp should be the thing for your garden. If you've got the space, I'd rather someone pay you a bit more money and get a mini ramp, because I'll just touch on this quick. I'm blabbing a lot. It's supposed to be about you. But when you're on a mini ramp, I feel like you're more in the zone, and you can be standing up on a deck and then you drop in and you do your rock. So you do a few tricks and you get going, you get momentum. Whereas on a quarter pipe, even though they're handy, it's a lot more stop-start. So if you can, I would say get a mini ramp for your garden, but that's not always possible. And some people even get 2 quarter pipes with no flat, and I've seen that, and that works. But yeah, back to the original point, these quarter pipes are very durable. Mine has seen a lot of use. I mean, like, you just re-licked it with a bit of paint, which is lovely, because that was starting to come off a little bit, even though it's still fine. You've also put a metal sheet on it now, which has been even better. It's much smoother ride up, because before the metal sheet there was with the wheels would hit it a little bit. But I'm guessing that was probably one of your first designs, and then you've improved. Talk about that. You've improved it, haven't you?
A lot of people still have that, and the skate park that I've got over in Marsh, they don't have any of the metal covers at the top. I cut the wood so it's a bit smoother, and actually you get used to it, and it's not that bad. And your kids are riding up it, that they're on a very smooth surface at your parks, whereas if you're on a less smooth surface and you're going up the ramp, you don't feel it. But so I can see why at a skate park on a very smooth surface, having that metal front would be so much better. But if you've got a garden with slabs, or it's not the smoothest anyway, I don't think the wooden lip is a problem. It's probably the smoothest part of the garden.
I'm even going to show this on my phone quick. I taught Simon learned rock and rolls on your ramps. Like, I haven't even put this on social media yet. I'm just going to play this for the podcast. Oh, they're not going to see it because of my cutout. They can kind of see it, which is great for him because I've wanted Simon to do rock and rolls for ages because he's good at kick turns.
Yeah.
And I'm just showing off the ramp in action there. If you saw it in my cutout face, I lost my notes. But those quarter pipes. How much does a quarter pipe cost?
Well, again, depending on the size, if they're going for one just like yours, I think they're around £200 and delivered. And if they go for a slightly bigger one, 2 foot tall, 4 foot wide, they go up to about 300. Then you can buy even bigger ones, which are 3 foot tall, massive quarter pipes. They're just under 400.
Cool. I would say for people, you want more width. So obviously, how wide's mine? About 2 feet?
Yours is 75 centimeters, I think. So
just over 2 feet. So
yeah,
it does do the job, but I needed it like that for my car. And when it's in my car, it literally is my full back seats. Like I wouldn't even, But ideally, if you can get a bit wider, I would say that's better for somebody. And
and you can link them together as well. If you buy two, you could either use them as a half pipe if you've got smooth surface in between, or you can put them next to each other. So you've got, you could put them and you could go up one and grind onto the other. There was a guy that brought,
have you done that?
Yeah.
Have you seen someone do that?
Yeah, if you look on my Instagram, a guy brought 2 3 foot ones, well, actually 4 3 foot ones, and he linked them together with a single piece of coping.
So give me a bit more detail. I'm gonna get the Instagram clip up so everyone can see. So he took the coping off and turned it into a 9 foot wide, like quarter.
8 foot wide, yeah, 8 foot wide.
8 foot
so
wide.
he brought 4 3 foot tall quarter pipes, so he could move them around, take them outside or whatever. And I don't know whether he brought the spare coping, because you can just swap it out coping, but I'm pretty sure on his ramp that we put 8 foot coping across the 2 ramps to kind of link them and stop them moving.
So you did that like custom bespoke for him kind of thing?
Exactly.
There you go. That's service and a half. So that was a little bit different. That's probably not something you're advertising on the website, but you managed to get that going.
But when people phone up and they say, I've got this space, it was in his garage actually, I've got this space and I want to have, like a half pipe, but I don't want a full half pipe. I want to be able to take it apart, put it outside in the summer, bring it back in. How do I do that? Then I give them the options and then they pick the option they want.
Excellent. And I'll plug it now quick. So obviously me and Dave have a partnership going. So if you do have lessons with Let's Go Skate and me nearby and you buy one of those quarter pipes, Dave will fund you to get a free skateboard lesson with me, won't you, Dave?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean that's a nice little incentive, because I know a lot of customers that are interested. So if you're listening to this, then get on that, and you might even be able to get something else if you get a mini ramp. I really hope some of my customers buy a mini ramp at some point, because I know they're itching for it.
Yeah, like I said to you, if they want to buy like a half pipe, then have a conversation with you, and we can chat, and then we can do something a little bit special on the price of that ramp.
For sure. And that's just for the people that are near me, with me. If you're with me having lessons, I want to make sure they have a lesson with me. So they've got to be one of my students for that discount, because not everyone deserves that discount. You've got to be supporting Let's Go Skate to get the roll-in discount. There we go.
It's best friend price.
There we go. That's it for you. I'm going to mention this now as well. People make their own ramps. Okay. And from my experience of listening to people, I won't call people out, it often goes wrong. People can do a bit of carpentry and stuff, but they mess up the radiuses, or they something goes wrong or whatever. So from my belief, I mean, it would be cheaper if someone can make it themselves, but the amount of time and effort that you're probably going to go through to try and make it yourself and then maybe mess up, I just think it's better to get one from Rollins, because a lot more stress-free. And that's not my personal experience, but that's me listening to stories. I can think of 2 within the last few months. one of them doesn't want the wife knowing that the radius is pretty off for the kid, but I won't mention who. So yeah, definitely go check. Buy from Rollins, I'd say.
Actually, if anyone was to go out and buy the wood that I buy, the same grade, the same quality, the paint, all the not the tools, but all of the screws and everything, they would probably be spending more than what I would charge to install it, because I buy everything in bulk and I have a really good relationship.
Trade price, aren't you? For sure.
Yeah. And so my margin is really, I don't have a brilliant margin because the price of wood's gone up so much, but obviously I make it to keep the business running. But I don't think anyone would be able to build one the same for less than what they would buy it for me. I don't think they could do that at the moment. If the price of wood goes down, then possibly. But it's very difficult to source birch plywood as well. You can't just buy it from the shop.
Does anyone ever do skate light for backyard stuff? Skate light?
Yeah, I mean, skate light
expensive,
is really good stuff. Yeah, it's about £250 a sheet, and you'd need 5 sheets at least per ramp.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So if someone said that they wanted to have skate light as a top surface, then I can do it. But it's just expensive to buy.
Well, there you go, like bespoke again. If you've got so basically, if you want a type of mini ramp done, like Dave will sort you out. He will make it work for you if you want skate light, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just cut it like you would cut, normal sheets. But I mean, for me personally, I would rather just change the birch. I'd just change the tops every 5 years, and it'd still be cheaper.
Yeah. What other products do you sell? So we've touched quarter pipes, mini ramps. Anything else that you sell that's worth mentioning? Talk about them.
Well, yeah, you can get some merch, get a hoodie.
Yes, you've got the merch that I'm wearing that there, which is fine. But do you do the grinding things and stuff like ledges and anything like that? Talk about some of those things. Do you anything? You can do things like that as well, can't you? Yeah, talk about some of the things you've done before, and I'll chuck some pictures up right now while you're talking.
Yeah, so you can buy ledges. They're 10 inches high, standard. They're a foot wide, 2 bars generally, and they're 4 foot, 6 foot. Can do 5 foot as well, obviously, and they're all on the website. Again,
I think I'm cutting in that Dan Webb. I'm pretty sure Webb skateboards. I'm pretty sure he's got one, so I'm going to play a video clip of him skating it at the park. Right? Is that what you've got? You've got one of them. Let's play a video of that so they can see that. He left it at the skate park for people to use, didn't he? So they'll be watching that right now, him doing that. Yeah.
And
so then
Rianne as well, Evans, she's got one over in Bournemouth, and she did a little video.
We're gonna play that too. I get it. She's she's probably one of the best female skaters in the UK these days. She's quite well known. It's cool.
I really love her Maydays when she goes long and she does like that Mayday and comes in fakie. It's so cool. Mm-hmm. She's got those down. That's not an easy trick,
No. Any other products? So you've got the ledges. What other ones?
You can get manual boxes, and I can build spines and extensions and all that stuff.
Yeah, you haven't done the rainbow rails or anything, have you, before? So I don't know for definite, but when I've recently went to Pioneer Skate Park and I taught a lot of my students to do rainbow rails. All 6 of the lads that came with me were able to do the rainbow rail. They absolutely loved it. So that is something, it's not my place to say, but that's something that could be of interest to customers to you. I don't know, but the kids loved it because kids can't ollie. So they want to feel what it's like to do a grind, don't they? And around rainbow rails you just ride onto. So they're kind of cool. Going through my notes here, I've kind of covered most of the stuff I think I wanted to talk about. I still want to chat for another 15 minutes or so, so I might throw a few random questions at you because I've asked all about that. You got anything that you think's worth mentioning right now before I start throwing things at you?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that so many people are getting into skating now, and it's not just young people that are buying the ramps, or parents buying them for young people, but a lot of adults as well are really getting into skating. But I think people are more health conscious these days, and if people haven't tried skating and they're an adult, it's not too late to have a go. You know, do you teach many adults as well? Do you get adults coming along?
Not as much. I wish I did. I try to encourage the adults to do it with the kids. Like, you know, like I get it all the time. It's like, oh, I wish I was doing it. I was like, well, you can, you know, but there's still a little bit of a stigma. It is going away, but the stigma's still there, and we need to improve on it. But definitely do teach adults, and some skate schools across the country teach lots of adults, but they have like an all adult night. So it's like really convenient for them, like all adults together learning. So like they feel it's not just them, they're part of something, which at this moment in time I can't offer, unfortunately, but it will come. But yeah, like quite a lot of the adults will just get the mini ramp for themselves, I think, because at the end of the day, it's the adult that has the money. If they want one, they're going to find the money to do it. Whereas a parent trying to decide if they can justify the cost for a kid, they might not be able to justify.
And you know, some of my customers, some of them roller skate as well, and skateboard, the kids as well, and you know, they get it as something that they can all do together, which I think is really nice. You know, that people, it's accessible for everyone. And for me, like I was skating in the early 90s, maybe won't tell you my age, but like I still skate a little bit now. Like people, once I've built a ramp, they might say, "I'll just demo it or show," and I'll just do a couple of rock fakies in an axle stall or something. But it's still really nice. I love it, and I love cruising along. I've got a couple of skateboards. One is like a skateboard that you do tricks on, you know, smaller wheels, and then I've got some cruisers, and I just love still skating and cruising along, ollieing up a few curves and stuff. But I don't push myself these days, but I still love the feeling of being on a board and skating a ramp and that kind of stuff. So maybe there's other people out there who might be listening to this or watching thinking, well, I used to skate in the 90s or 10 years ago. You know, have another go. The technology for skateboards and the wheels and all that stuff has got so much better.
It has, yeah.
Like when I discovered cruisers, I was like, do you know what? I can do this again. You know, and you get yourself back into it because it's just that nice feeling of skating along and, you know, enjoying it. It's amazing. It's as good as snowboarding.
Cool. Yeah, I need to go snowboarding. I've not done it. One day I will. I was going to ask, tell me some top of your head, any stories, any cool stories. I'm not saying you probably haven't built any ramps for anyone famous or anything, but anything interesting, like any problems that happened or were funny, or like a cool story, like did a customer offer you dinner? I don't know. Anything that you think could be interesting to share, a funny story or anything. I don't know.
Actually, customers have offered me dinner. And you know, people, you know, I have had the most loveliest customers, and people are genuinely excited and look forward to getting their ramp being installed. And I enjoy the whole process of talking to someone because I feel the excitement from them when they're going to get it. It's either they're getting it, they're so excited because they know their kid's going to love it, or they're going to skate it themselves. And it's just wonderful. And being part of that process, and then being there on the day, or even if they want to help me build it when I'm there and they get involved, it's just the best. And when I'm there, and I'm setting it up, I often step back and look at it and think, I have the best job in the world. You know, I've been doing this since I was a kid, and I absolutely love building it, especially when my sons are there as well, because it's an activity I can do with them. But that's it's amazing, such a privilege to build something like that you know people are going to enjoy and skate. And the feedback that I've had from the customers, it honestly, it's the lovely, people write the most loveliest things about the company, about the product, and it is so worthwhile, you know.
Yeah, because you just made me think, like, you're like Father Christmas when you're coming and turning up, like they're so excited. Whereas I guess like when you've got an electrician or you've got a plumber, they're usually fixing a problem. So if someone's all stressed out, or if you're getting your kitchen redone and you can't cook. So it's like, whereas when you're coming around, it's like, wow, yeah, I'm going to get a skateboard ramp. That's amazing kind of thing. Yeah, so it's all really cool. One of the questions I forgot to ask, it's just come back to my head, so I'm going to ask it now, is where do you create it all off site? You have your own like unit or something, don't you? Yeah?
Yeah,
I do. Talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to put a video up showing it off. Then when you talk about it.
Yeah, great. So I have a unit over in Oxford, and the guys who I let it from, they own this merchandise company with hoodies, So I buy the hoodies from them. I've known them for years, actually. They used to do all the hoodies for my youth club.
It's nice.
Lovely,
Nicer
lovely
than the
guys.
hoodies I have.
I'll mention their name. Alpha Amiga Limited, they're called. So if anyone wants to order a big batch of hoodies or T-shirts or whatever, they're a great company. They're really good. You can depend on
Say it one more
those
time.
guys. Alpha Amiga Limited.
Cool.
So
I'll see if I can find them and plug them up right now. It's always, I love to plug people. Plug them. Yeah, it's good to plug people. Like, it's just
shout
sharing
out
the
to
love,
Matt and Steve. Lovely,
Yeah,
lovely
Matt and
guys.
Steve.
Genuine. You know, they've never let me down for a hoodie.
Cool.
So yeah, I've got this unit which I let from them, and I store all the wood there. But I have to paint the wood, cut the wood, pre-drill it, and get everything prepared and ready before I go and build it on the day. And so it's, as you can imagine, it's quite a lot of work to build one half pipe. You know, it's two solid bits prep, and then getting there and putting it together. But
you install in about 3 hours, though. You said, well, give or take.
Yeah, between 3 and 5 hours. Yeah.
On your, sometimes your sons help, but like my one took him. Oh no, he had to lay. Oh, I won't get into all that. He couldn't finish on the same day because of the neighbour. That was the whole thing. But took him a little bit longer. But do you ever do time lapses of you building it, putting it together?
There's one time lapse on when we're building the ramp in my son's house. We did time lapse, putting one together.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that on now because I think a time lapse is so satisfying to see a ramp being put together. Like, so that's a cool time lapse. I'm going to play that in there now. Yeah, I think we're pretty much getting near an hour. I think we're a little under, but like, I'm happy. Have you got any other bits that you think are worth mentioning, or any plugs or anything you want to say? Like, your chance, whatever you want to say, mate.
If someone's thinking about buying one of the ramps and they want to come and skate one, then they can come over to, I'm based in Aylesbury, they can come over and skate one if they want and see what it's like. So my sons have a 3 foot tall one, 8 foot wide in their garden, and we're going to build, I think in the next month, we're going to build an extension on their ramp, which is either 2 foot or 2.5 foot. So it'd be lower. So they can learn tricks on that and then get up to the 3 foot. If anyone's really interested in, you know, wanting to buy a ramp and they want to come and skate one, they can come and skate it. It's fine.
Try before you buy. There you go. Come try it. I mean, that is, not every day you get invited to come do that. Like, yeah, there you go. You'll have everyone.
The thing is, they can try your quarter, obviously, and they're learning on your quarter. But there's bigger quarters as well. Yours is really for people to learn those fundamental tricks to build up confidence. But the bigger ones, they're like the 2 foot tall quarters. They're a serious bit of kit, you know.
For sure. And then like, you can deliver them, and I guess obviously depending on the mileage, you will have to charge a delivery fee. But in theory, if someone's in Scotland, would you do it?
Yeah, I have to get
for
Scotland. I have to get a quote from a guy who delivers up that way for me. Because I have a guy, James, I'll shout out to him. He delivers in the south, but for the ones further north, I need to really put it out to companies that go up there regularly, because it's so far on fuel. You can't do it just one journey, because the price of fuel to Scotland is more than the price of a ramp. So you need a company.
It's all going up right now, isn't it?
Yeah, the way they work is they get like, they fill a whole van with maybe 20 orders, and the ramp will be part of that van. So I can't, it's harder for me to guarantee a day. But if someone really wants one of my ramps and they're in Scotland, then sure, but it's just, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Which is fine. So basically, the potential's there. That's what I was asking. Like, it is possible.
Oh, yeah, there's ramps in Northern Ireland that I've got out to Northern Ireland. And if people want them, I can get them there. It's just, you've got to find someone that's going, you know, that can take it at the right price. And I never charge the customer more than what the courier is going to charge me.
That's good of you. Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to. I want them to have the ramp, but I can't make a loss on it, you know.
Of course, dude. Of course. But yeah. Anyone you want to shout out? Any other plugs? Are we all good? I think we mentioned a few.
Well, I'll mention the guys that I skated with. I absolutely looked up to them so much. They're all older than me, and sure, they picked on me a little bit because I was just a little grommet, you know, skating alongside. but they inspired me, and it was so good that I had role models who were into creative skating and stuff, and they really looked after me as a young lad, like when I was 11, 12, 13, 14, and really look up to those guys. And they're, still friends with them on Facebook. They might even see this video, who knows? But
they might do if you decide to share it. Yeah, plug them. And then I'm just going to mention quick, because obviously people can try your product by going through our skate schools. So, for example, obviously I'm Let's Go Skate. If you want a lesson in Cambridgeshire, I'm your man. Who else is using your ramps? I know we've got, is it Skate Academy in somewhere in Wales? They're using your ramps, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Nottingham Skate and Basingstoke.
He's doing
I don't want to miss anyone. I don't want to miss anyone off and not mention them. But if you look on the Instagram, on my highlight reel on Rollins, you can see all of the companies that have either, like you, purchased bits and pieces, or we've come up with an agreement.
Okay, I'm looking now quick. So Farscape as well. They're using your stuff, yeah? Farscape and Happy Skate.
Farscape has one, yeah.
Yeah, and Skate Academy, we've mentioned Ramp Skating. I'm just making sure we shout them all out, because these are all places, if you've heard of that skate school near where you live, they are using Rollins ramps. And I'm sure you'll get more partnerships with more going forward. But yeah, good stuff. Right, should we wrap this up?
Yeah, thanks, good? Jason.
Cool. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. It's been good chatting with Dave from Rollins tonight. I learned a few things about ramp design and stuff, which is interesting. Hopefully they have too. They know where to go if they want to buy a ramp. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the podcast. Any, constructive criticism. I don't know why I say this, but I want people to send me messages like, oh, I enjoyed listening. It's all good. It's going to take time for me to get it out there. But I think this is going to be a good history of people will go back in a few years' time when I've done loads of these. It's good for the people who want to go back and listen to stuff. What else was I going to say when I wrap it up? Not sure. No, I'm happy. I'm going to leave it like that. Right. It's nice chatting with you, Dave. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Jason.
All right. See ya.